Okay, so let's talk about what's happening in Eau Claire, which is a city in Wisconsin. And apparently, a middle school orchestra teacher is planning on getting gender affirming surgery. So, a basically, it was a ugh, what are those school get-togethers called? I can't think of it. I'm blanking. Was called in the orchestra room to let them know, to let the kids know. Now, the kids were told, but the parents were not. Now, do I think the parents should also be aware that this is happening? Yes, because, I don't know if parents ever meet with orchestra teachers, but, they should probably know what gender they should be calling that teacher. I'm sure they would have questions if their kid came home one day and said, instead of Mr. Such and Such, they said Miss Such and Such. And it would just completely confuse the parent, especially if you're a transphobic piece of crap. So, yes, the parents should have been told. Now, I question whether the kids should have been allowed to opt out of what they were told, because seriously, why are you opting out your kids from reality? The teacher is doing instead of coming in one day and suddenly looking female, or at least, more female than they probably already do, more womanly, then the students would have questions. So of course they should know that their teacher is transitioning. Now, what gets me though is that usually you socially transition first before you get gender affirming surgery. So I have to admit, this is a rather weird story that Mr. Such and Such is now going to be Miss Such and Such. Seriously, were you not dressing like a woman? Or because my understanding, now this is obviously not true of all trans people, but if you experience gender dysphoria, hence having the surgery, I would think that would be in other aspects of your life, and you would be, socially already a woman. But we don't know the whole story. So, and this is being told from the standpoint of a pissed off mother who is having a conservative law firm represent her. So, there's probably a lot that we don't know. That maybe, none of the students are surprised about this, because they probably have already noticed some womanly traits in this person. Because like I said, you usually socially transition before you medically transition. So we don't know the whole story. But anyway, let me just read the article. Some Eau Claire parents are upset their school district didn't inform them before telling students that a middle school teacher is planning gender affirming surgery. And I can see that. That is a big deal, especially since this is a teacher, and parents are also potentially going to have a interaction with this teacher, so they probably should know too. Now, whether they should know before the students that's a conversation you can have, since the students are the one who will be interacting with this person more. But yeah, the parents definitely should have been told at some point. Now one mother is suing the Eau Claire Area School District to get more information about what was exactly said to her children. The conservative law firm, the Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty, is representing Leah Bauchman, who has 4 children in the Eau Claire School District. And this is where she lost me. If you're going with a conservative law firm, you're basically saying right off the bat that this isn't about you are concerned that the parents were never told about the teacher transitioning. You're just transphobic, because you just hate that this person exists because they're trans. Because otherwise, why not get any other law firm? Why go for a conservative law firm that's known to be on the wrong side of basically every issue I have ever heard of? So, yeah, that's where she lost me. On June 5th, 2 days before school ended for the summer, orchestra students at North Star Middle School were asked to report to the orchestra room, where they were met by their orchestra teacher, a school counselor, and the district's diversity, equity, and inclusion director. The students were told their orchestra teacher was transitioning from male to female, and going forward they were to address the teacher as Miss, according to the complaint filed by Will. 2 of Bachman's children were in the room for the discussion. Students were told they could leave the room or stay to hear the teacher's story. All the students stayed. Probably because the students aren't absolute dicks, or like a lot of people, they're just super curious as to what the hell is going on. The teacher told the students she experienced childhood trauma because her parents and friends did not accept that she was the opposite sex from what was assigned at birth. I hate that sentence. She is not the opposite sex. She's the opposite gender. Because this just goes into the narrative that sex and gender are the same thing and that trans people are just confused. No, trans people know what their biological sex is. They know that's why they're transitioning. If they were confused, then there would be no need to transition, because why would you transition from one sex to another if you aren't even sure what sex you are? I mean, that is dumb. That is not a thing. You are transitioning because you do not fit the gender that you are. And because you don't fit the gender, if you have gender dysphoria, you also want to look more like the sex that is typically associated with gender. That is just the way it is. And there are biological um there are biological there are parts of the brain, let's put it that way. There are parts of the brain that actually are different in trans people that look more like the gender that they feel that they are. So, hence the gender dysphoria. This is not hard. Seriously, WASA pilot, do better. Okay. The discussion also included reference to a medical procedure she is planning to undergo, according to the complaint. Okay, so she told her students that she's undergoing a particular procedure. It's not like she went into excruciating detail. At least I hope not. Because unless you are seeking out that information because you're either curious or you are trans and you want to know what to expect, you really don't need to go into that much detail. Just say, I'm undergoing this procedure and it affects this. I mean, maybe it mention it will affect a certain body part, but you don't have to go into excruciating details. So, again, I don't see what's wrong with this. Yes, the parents should also be told this. I will agree with that. If for no other reason, like I said, they also will have to have a they will have to potentially speak to this person and, you know, either speak to this person or they're going to hear from their kids about such and such a thing happening. Like I said, what used to be Mr. is now Miss, and I'm sure the parents are going to be wondering what's going on, which is perfectly reasonable. So, but the fact that the district is keeping a lid on this, I understand that transphobia exists and it's really bad right now, but at the same time, well, like I said, this is the kid's teacher, so the parents should be aware. Should that give them the right to be like serious dicks to the teacher? Absolutely not. But they do have the right to know. I will agree with that. Staff at the school were notified of the discussion prior to it happening. Parents were not. You know, I don't know if the parents should have known before their kids. I mean, if they sent a statement home with their kids that, oh, by the way, mom, here, look at this, this is happening. Like just about any other informational stuff that is given to the children. It's given at the same time. You give in literature to the child, they give it to their parents, and everything is fine. I don't see why the parents needed to know before the kids. Parents wish they had known before the announcement was made so they could opt out or talk with their students before the district did. But they primarily just want to know details about what was told to their kids, said Corey Brewer, who is representing Bauchman. Now, so they could opt out. Again, this person is going to be going into the new school year being Miss as opposed to Mr. So, opt out of what? The kids would then end up just being completely unaware of what's happening. I mean, it's possible that they might have their friends tell them that, oh, by the way, this happened, which is another reason why opt out does not work, because children talk, people talk, then you're they're still going to get the information. But whether it is in some way filtered that it's not exactly what she told them, but anyway, talk with their students before the district did. About what? That you're a transphobic piece of shit, so the students should come into the orchestra room battle ready to question this teacher's existence because they dare to be trans? Seriously, talk to them about what? That's why there's a school. That's why they had a school counselor there. So students who were completely confused would have someone to talk to try to understand what's happening between the teacher and school counselor. What exactly did they want the parents to be able to talk to their kids about? That I'm transphobic, trans people don't exist, or trans people are evil, or seriously, what? But primarily they just want to know details about what was told to their kids. Now that part is reasonable. Knowing what was told to their kids is perfectly reasonable. I see nothing wrong with that. Now, do I think that they should then use that against the school district, whatever it was that was said, provided it wasn't too explicit, which based on this bitch calling a conservative law firm that's been on the wrong side of every culture war issue I can think of, I'm going to say that literally any innocuous thing that was said was, I'm going to be missed, I'm going to be having such and such a surgery, and that was it. And they would still find a problem with it because, anything that's LGBT plus related is somehow sexualized because reasons. So I don't have much confidence that even if they were told beforehand, that they wouldn't find a reason to bring a stink. All right, after the discussion at North Star Middle School, students at North High School and at least 3 elementary schools, including Sam Davy Elementary, Locust Lane Elementary, and Northwoods Elementary Schools, were read a statement regarding the teachers' plans for gender-affirming surgery. So even though it was just that middle school, the entire district found out about it. Bachman's other 2 children are at North High School and Sam Davy Elementary School. Bachman emailed a band teacher at North High School and requested the statement. She received an email back saying he could not send it to her without district permission. Actually, I would suggest it should be the teacher's permission, the one who's transitioning. But maybe that was just a response from this teacher saying, yep, it's not my story to tell, not getting involved. Balkman filed an open records request with the district. She received a letter dated June 12th after her open records request was filed from Sven Strutz, an Eau Claire attorney, saying her request was denied. The district will be conducting an investigation to reconstruct the facts surrounding the event itself and the planning that would have taken place prior to the event, as well as determining whether any district policies may have been violated, the letter states. The fact that investigation is pending does affect the handling of your public records request. Please note that the district is not saying that a public records request for the materials you seek can never be fulfilled. Instead, it is saying that the request cannot be honored until such time as the investigation has been concluded, which sounds reasonable. Officials at the Eau Claire Area School District echoed that statement on Tuesday. After the events of June 5th and the inquiries received from certain parents, it was decided that there should be a formal investigation of the events of that day and the planning that preceded that day to determine if there were any missteps under school district policy, said a statement from the district to WPR. With the summer season upon us, the investigations encountered some issues with witness employee availability. Work on the investigation is ongoing. Brewer said Will is asking the court to require the district to produce the statement read to students. We believe this is exactly the type of records parents and taxpayers should have access to, Brewer said. And I do agree with this one, yes. Public schools are public entities subject to open records laws. Parents are frustrated by the lack of transparency and they simply want to know what was told by the district to their children. Okay, now, even though I do agree that the parents should have been given that statement that was given to these students, which I'm surprised that it wasn't a written statement. Wait a minute, they said it was a written statement, right? Let me go back. Let's see. Where is it? Okay. They were read a statement. Okay, so they didn't have a copy. Because otherwise, the students could just give the copy to the parents because that's what you do. So, why, if you're reading the statement, why not then just give the kids a copy to give to their parents? I don't see why that would be a problem. But, and if parents have a problem with it, well, then if they have a problem with the fact that there's a teacher that's transitioning, that's their problem. Now, but yeah, this secrecy that's going on at Eau Claire, well, if you're telling the students, why can't you tell the parents? It's not like it's a student who's trying to keep this from their parents because they know that they'll get the snot beaten out of them or whatever, or kicked out or something. This teacher lives in the community. It will be noticed. Like I said, if nothing else, um, when parents are meeting with teachers, because every year you go through an orientation. Well, not every year, but whenever you move to a new school, you go through an orientation. So if you have children like this woman does, who are older and knew the band teacher as Mr., and all of a sudden they go to the orientation and it's Miss, I mean, they're going to find out about this, and they're going to wonder why nobody told them that this was happening. They might be confused. And if they're transphobic, they might lose their shit at the orientation. So, yeah, definitely parents should be aware of what's happening simply because they might have business with this teacher. Should they have known beforehand? No. No, because just like any other informational thing a student gets, the parents get it after the students. They get a packet, they give the packet to their parents in a perfect world anyway, and the parents find out then. This is not like a school field trip where you have to get the parents' permission and they get to decide whether they meet the requirements to send their kid to on this field trip, or they might decide that they don't want to because they can't afford the fee or whatever. This is not that. This is a teacher that these students are going to be seeing every day or every other day, depending on how the school district structures their classes. So, yeah, the students need to know that this is happening. But so do the parents, because if this student really likes band, really likes their orchestra teacher, well, if the parent asks, "Oh, how was class with Mr. such and such?" and the student corrects them, they're going to find out that way. So, yeah, I don't see why they can't find out the same day students do. Send home a statement saying that this happened. This does not give the parents the right to lose their shit, to be transphobic twats, and to cause problems for this teacher. But they do have the right to know. And I don't know why Eau Claire didn't bother to tell the parents. Because that, in theory, might have saved a lot of problems. Now, do I really believe that this woman would have not gone on her crusade if the school district was just open and told the parents that this was happening, that this happened actually. No, she would probably find a reason that it was inappropriate for her children to hear that because transphobia. And the only reason I think that is because of who she brought to represent herself. But if it, because if she has no problem with a trans person, then there's no problem. And yeah, I agree. Eau Claire should have been forthcoming. So anyway, I believe that's all I have for this article, and I will see you guys in the next one.